Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2019 career mode. Today we will go racing for round 3 of the championship in China at the Shanghai circuit, and let's hope that we can continue this good run that we've had. Second place last time out in Bahrain. We had a fantastic battle all race long with Sebastian Vettel, but unfortunately he got the win in the end there, but not to worry, we still have the championship lead at the moment, so only 2 races down and a massive 19 to go in this season. Hopefully I can get them all done before the next game comes out, whenever that will be. Not many upgrades going on, if any, for the other teams coming into this weekend. Obviously early in the season, not a lot of R&D to do, but as we move through the weekend to qualifying, forecast hasn't changed in any dramatic way, so it looks like it's going to stay dry, so let's get into it.
Welcome to Shanghai, China, for what I've no doubt is going to be a fantastic F1 qualifying session. In recent seasons, much talk has been made about tyre wear. Some say it gets in the way of the racing, others say it's always been part of the sport. Are we going to see drivers trying to look after their tyres here, or throw caution to the wind and worry about that when it becomes a problem?
Tyre wear is always something you have to consider to a certain degree. Finding a good car balance that suits the circuit will help prolong the life of the tyre, but it's true that some circuits, such as this one, are more challenging than others. How hard you can push them depends on your strategy and how tight the battle is around you.
So the end of Q1, and you can see there at the top of the screen, as I've had to write it in, we had Antonio Giovinazzi, Robert Kubica, Kimi Räikkönen, George Russell and Alex Albon knocked out in Q1 in respective positions. Q2 we only just get through with Daniel Ricciardo, Kevin Magnussen, Lance Stroll in the Mercedes really struggling in this session. Pierre Gasly and Danny Kvyat knocked out. Devin Butler doing a decent job up in P8 to get through into Q3 in the Haas car. It's not the greatest. They're kind of edge points at best, at least on paper, so he did a decent job to get into Q3, so maybe he will have some decent pace throughout this weekend. We'll have to watch out for that. But anyway, we move on to Q3 ourselves and get on with our job, and hopefully we can qualify this thing near the front. I've really been struggling through this middle sector that you're seeing now, but hopefully we can avoid making mistakes like that and get a better lap together. This is only our first run. We will have a second run, and hopefully we can eliminate those mistakes, and again going deep there into the final sector. So yeah, this lap just isn't coming together, and it's not going to be a very competitive one, it would seem. But we go along the back straight, and we'll just cut straight to the end of the lap, and we are a bit off the pace at the moment, so we're going to need to go again. So here we go on our second lap in Q3, starting at the first couple of corners. Very tricky, but I think even in the email you get just before qualifying, if you can get through these first few corners, they really sort of set you up for the rest of the lap, and there's a bit of time that you can lose getting those first couple of corners wrong. But I think we've gone through there fairly well on this occasion. Turn 4, and we'll get our first timing split, and we're red, so we are not improving on our previous time at this point. So we will need to really push through the middle sector to try to get some of the time back. A bit of a mistake there, but not too bad, and this time we keep it on the track through this double left-hander, and those 2 corners are the ones I've been struggling with most around this circuit, and we get it pulled up nicely through the left-hander there. And as we head on to the straight for our second lap, we'll open the DRS and head towards the final 2 corners of the circuit. We've got a purple middle sector, so we have absolutely solved our issues through that section of track now into the hairpin, a little bit deep and running just slightly wide of the ideal line there. Hopefully that won't cost us too much time, but now through the final corner, just about keeping it under control, but that would have cost us a bit of time as well. We cross the line.
Fantastic. You've got pole.
And we get pole. How on earth does that happen? That was not a clean lap at all.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. The scientist, Vettel and Sergio Perez. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
By almost a second. What just happened in that qualifying session? We improved our middle sector by a massive amount in that session, and it's pushed us all the way up to pole position. Our first and last sector on our second lap were actually slower, so that was by no means the best lap we could have done, and that really came out of nowhere. I haven't been topping any of the practice sessions or anything throughout this weekend, but finally managing to get a lap together when it matters most, and we absolutely smashed the field.
Well done. Very solid result. You're looking good for the race.
I have a feeling there may have been, I don't know, some issue in that session. Maybe they weren't using their rich mix or something, I don't know. But somehow we've pulled a magic number out of the hat there. But anyway, let's get into the race and hope this form can continue.
It's time to find out which driver is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. We're here in Shanghai. We start a lap here at Shanghai with the long, difficult right-handers of turns 1 and 2, the first of 16 corners that make up this 3.3-mile circuit. The incredibly long back straight provides the best passing opportunity of the lap, with speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour before the braking zone of turn 14. Joining us today to oversee all the thrills and spills, it's Anthony Davidson. And great to see you. How are you feeling about the race today, and how are the circuit conditions from what you've seen?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there, if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. The scientist lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Norris, Lucas Faber and Leclerc, Bottas, Hamilton, Butler and Daniel Ricciardo, Magnussen, Stroll, Pierre Gasly and Kvyat, Giovinazzi, Kubica, Max Verstappen and Kimi Raikkonen. Russell and Alexander Albon picks up the last spot on the grid, and with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
You've done well to put it on pole, but we've still got work to do. Trying to cover the inside line off the start.
Alright, I'll try to cover the inside line, but we'll see what kind of start we get. So, it will be cloudy all throughout the race, progressively more cloudy in the near future, but no rain as we set up our strategy work, but not really too much to look at there as we get underway for the formation lap, and the car sparking away already, and I have to say that does look pretty cool. But lining up on pole position, I believe, for the first time this season, and forming up on the grid after getting everything warmed up, and that looks quite cool. All the cars taking their positions for the start of the Chinese Grand Prix as we now go to 5 red lights, and it's lights out and away we go for the Chinese Grand Prix, and it's not a great start by any means. And we're going to have a car on the inside. We can't cover the inside line, and that is Sebastian Vettel down the inside, and we're going to try and hold it around the outside. We've got 2 wheels in the dirt, and that is not going to work out for us. Lando Norris gets through as well. It's really good qualifying from Norris so far, and a good start as well, but Charles Leclerc gets around our outside as well, and we've lost 3 positions, and we've been spun around into the wall, and thankfully not out of the race, but that could have been an absolute disaster. That could have gone so much worse. We'll go on board with Sergio Perez. That's not our old teammate, it is Sergio Perez. Spins us around and into the wall, and well, that was always coming, the way we were going as teammates running into each other as rivals now. That was bound to happen at some point. Sergio Perez, not sure what he was really doing there. He was heading off circuit. Safety car.
Safety car has been deployed. Watch your delta. Make sure you keep it positive as we catch the pack.
We'll try to get some more angles,
Okay,
but
box. We're adjusting the strategy. Come in this lap.
you can see no front wing, no chance of making that corner as slow as we were going. But Sergio Perez goes to the right, and he just turns straight into us as he rejoined the track. I'm not really sure what he was doing, to be completely honest. Here is the onboard from Lando Norris, and you can see he follows the Ferrari through. That is Sebastian Vettel in the lead Ferrari up ahead, and you can see Norris gets past us. That's us side by side with our teammate, and I don't think we'll see too much of the incident from this angle, but you can see us spearing off the track at high speed there. We'll go on board with Charles Leclerc. We might see a bit more, just trying to see all the angles here, to see if we can just see anything about what Sergio Perez was doing, but it was a bit of a weird one. He was off circuit, at least with 2 wheels there, and just turned us around. We did move to the left a bit, admittedly, but yeah, that was a massive incident there for us. But anyway, team radio.
Medium tyres at the next stop.
Alright, so we are coming in for a new set of tyres, and obviously a new front wing medium tyres going on through the car, and they should last us at least until the halfway point. We'll go on to another set of mediums to the end, so it'll still be a 2-stop, just with an extremely short first stint.
Let's get some heat into those tyres.
But this might not actually work out too badly for us in this one, because we have basically made a free pit stop. We'll have a lot of traffic to work through.
Stable at the moment. No rain currently expected. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
But our car is back in 100% working condition as we catch up with the race leader here, Sebastian Vettel, sitting behind the safety car, as Lando Norris sits in second, Charles Leclerc third, and Sergio Perez has dropped out of that train. He came to a stop.
Only 1 stop to go. 1 stop left in this strategy. Your pit window doesn't open for more than 20 laps.
Just after he punted us off the road as we catch up to the train.
Give that position back. We are under safety car conditions and cannot overtake. Return the position.
Very suddenly there, catching up to the train, but had to give those positions back, obviously. But yeah, as I was saying, we might not be in a bad position now, because everyone else has at least 2 more stops. We've only got 1 more, but we will need to carry these tyres.
Let's catch up to the field a bit. We're dropping too far back. Remember that we need to stay within 10 car lengths of the next car.
But anyway, we will soon get back up to racing speed. And like I was about to say, Sergio Perez has dropped out of the train. He came to a stop after he punted us off the road, but he is down quite a way in the field now, as the safety car accelerates away from the field, and Sebastian Vettel will hold his pace and pick a place to make a restart. That's a nice sounding safety car. But anyway, we will soon get underway as we see the entire field go by in these camera shots. Looks really cool. Seeing all the cars in a massive line like this, but it won't be like that for too long. Season 2, the field's tighter than it was in Season 1, but the field spread is still pretty massive. The likes of Williams and Alfa Romeo have a lot of work to do still. But when will Sebastian Vettel choose to go? And will Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc be able to put the pressure on? We'll soon find out. But it looks like Vettel's gone now out of the penultimate corner. And he's got a really good restart, got a good buffer to Lando Norris. He won't be challenged anytime soon. So we get underway. And for us, everyone else is on still relatively new soft tyres. They've only really done a few safety car laps. So overtaking will be quite difficult through these early phases of the race, especially with the lack of power that we have. But really, we're going to play the long game here, and we'll jump a lot of cars when it is time for pit stops to be made, as we are pressurizing one of the Toro Rossos, that is Alexander Albon, that's in front of us. And that engine in the Toro Rosso probably isn't one of the better ones, so this shouldn't be too difficult for us. We've got a good exit out of the right-hander onto the back straight, and we should be able to go straight on past Alex Albon down the inside, and we do just that, down the inside, and take the position, moving ourselves up into 19th, and have one less car to overtake. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc goes down the inside of Lando Norris, and that is into the first corner, side by side through the first corner. They're both very close behind Sebastian Vettel at this point in the race. Norris coming back at him through the left-hander of turn 3 or 2. I'm not really sure what counts as a corner anymore, but Charles Leclerc ends up getting that position in the end, and gets up to P2, and will soon be putting pressure on Sebastian Vettel for the race lead. Next up is Max Verstappen, who is a long way down the field. We send it into the first corner, and that is a nice move, presuming he can't make a switch back. We have a little look around the outside of the Alfa Romeo there of Kimi Raikkonen, but not able to make the move on the Finnish driver there. But we should be able to get through fairly soon. We almost have look in the middle sector. That is not an overtaking opportunity by any stretch of the imagination. We've made the same mistake again that we made in qualifying, as we did just now, and run wide. But hopefully we should be able to go around the outside of Verstappen here into the third sector, side by side. Now we've got the inside run onto the back straight, and we hold that position against Max Verstappen. But we almost lost the position there. We don't want to be moving backwards at any point in this race. No damage on the car though, so we are safe to continue, but we've given Kimi Raikkonen
Expect to see some rain about 10 to 15 minutes from now.
a bit of breathing space. Rain though is coming as we go on board with Charles Leclerc as he's closing in to the Ferrari. The race leader Sebastian Vettel under threat, and I think Charles Leclerc might be clear. He is. Charles Leclerc up into the race lead ahead of his old teammate, and Charles Leclerc now leads the Chinese Grand Prix ahead of Sebastian Vettel. Charles Leclerc showing he made the right choice by moving to the Racing Point team and overtaking his teammate. And we have a little look down the inside of Raikkonen, but not able to make the move on Kimi once again. So it's getting a little bit annoying, I have to say, trying to pass Raikkonen, and we absolutely send it into the final sector, and we should just about get that move done. But that was a risky move, but we have the pace in the corners at the moment, so we have to go for those kinds of moves if we want to get through the field. Next up is Sergio Perez, our old teammate and the man who hit us off at turn 4 on the first lap. So we'll need to try to get a move on and overtake him as we run very deep into the hairpin. Sergio Perez getting held up by the Williams cars of Robert Kubica and George Russell, who are also battling away at the moment. And we just about maintain the position ahead of Raikkonen, who was briefly coming back at us, but we've got the DRS versus these two cars ahead. but we are too far behind for now as we make another mistake at the double left-hander at the end of the second sector. Raikkonen gets back past. We go down the outside into the third sector, and we should be able to get that position back just like we did to Max Verstappen a few laps ago, and hopefully that will be the last we see of Kimi Raikkonen in this race. Meanwhile, we move on, and Sergio Perez is putting pressure on George Russell round the outside into the hairpin, and Sergio Perez is having a lot of trouble overtaking these Williams cars, so I can only assume that he has some kind of issue in that Ferrari. Maybe it's
Good job, nice overtake.
some minor front wing damage, or some other suspension related issue from the contact, but sorry about that to George Russell. We kind of screwed him over a bit there on the way past, but we have to make these aggressive moves whenever we can. Meanwhile, Robert Kubica is putting up a massive fight for Sergio Perez, and he actually holds him off and moves back across in front of him onto the racing line. He's held up Perez, and we might be able to make a move here. We're very close. Sergio Perez round the outside of Kubica into turn 4, and we make the switch back, but Perez gets the drive and is going to go down the inside of Kubica. Surely with the inside line here, he's going to get through side by side through the middle sector, Perez and Kubica comes back at him. I thought for sure that Perez was going to get through there. He was almost fully ahead, but Robert Kubica is not giving up, and he is showing that he still has what it takes to be an F1 driver and to be on the grid, and he is going for it with Sergio Perez still holding it around the outside, and this is absolutely incredible. We're going to go for a massive switchback here as we've hit Kimi Raikkonen as we've tried to make the switchback. Robert Kubica gets through on Sergio Perez, and we are going to switch to the right hand side, try to get the drive, but Kubica, good straight line speed in the Williams. We'll have a brief look at what happened to Kimi. He didn't actually spin, just a bit of contact, and had to save the car there, but thankfully we all got away with it in the end. Oh, that was a little bit rude of me there, cutting right across in front of Perez to get right behind Kubica, but we get the run on Kubica, and we go straight on past, but got a bit distracted looking at the front wing there. I thought there might have been a bit of contact through all of that, but thankfully we got away with it, and we hold on to the position, and we can move on with our race. A massive gap in front of us from all the battling Kubica coming back at us.
Charles is in for his stop.
But Charles Leclerc is in for a pit stop, it seems. So we
Gap to car in front is 3.3 seconds.
can get a few free positions here as everyone makes their stops, and you can see Leclerc, the former race leader, is now behind us. So we are in pretty good stead in this one, but keep in mind we have much older tyres than everyone else. We've effectively been running on these for the entire race so far, as we sit behind Antonio Giovinazzi in the Alpha, and can we maybe make a move into turn 4? We've got a run, and that was very close behind the Alfa Romeo, but thankfully we are able to get through there. On Giovinazzi is on the right hand side there, but we should be able to pull through on the inside line, and we do just that. Meanwhile, Sebastian Vettel battling away with Lance Stroll. Remember, Sebastian Vettel started P2, Stroll started down in P12, so Sebastian Vettel has lost a lot of ground. Stroll has had a really solid race so far, but Vettel is going to have that position at the moment, as we're under pressure from our teammate, and we make a mistake, run wide. Charles Leclerc gets through, and there is not much we can really do. We just let him go there. We're on much older tyres, and there's no point in us fighting with Charles on this occasion. Meanwhile, Stroll's going to come back at Sebastian Vettel to the outside of the hairpin, and this time he might be able to get the inside line for the final corner. There's a Renault watching on, I believe that's Kevin Magnussen, and it looks like Stroll is going to get through on the inside, and he does that, and it looks like Kevin Magnussen is now getting involved right behind Lance Stroll. Magnussen looking for an opportunity, and he might find one if he sticks right behind the Mercedes, and now it is Magnussen round the outside of Sebastian Vettel, but Vettel surely won't be overtaken by a Renault. The Renault is one of the slowest cars on the grid, but Magnussen doing a brilliant job to get ahead and take that position away from Sebastian Vettel, defending the line there and taking the position. Nice work, Kevin Magnussen. But we move on with our own race and run a little bit deep into the first corner. We've got Valtteri Bottas right behind us. Oh, we've turned him around. What? How has that happened? I think we made some contact. We might have banged front left to rear right wheels, and Bottas goes for a spin off into the infield, manages to save it, and comes to a stop.
Virtual safety car. Reduce speed immediately and keep a positive delta. Okay, slow down. Your delta is negative, which means you are too fast. Reduce your pace.
I'm not sure what Bottas was doing there. Maybe he was just waiting for an opportunity to get back on track. But we just come together. He was probably holding his line. I think we came down towards the apex a little bit. But here he decides to get moving again and then stops. And all sorts is going on behind. That's Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll coming to a stop. There's a McLaren there as well, and other cars involved. I think Devin Butler was back there as well in the Haas, and this is on board with Vettel, Stroll alongside, and Kevin Magnussen, I believe, is the car up ahead on board with Magnussen, and Bottas just right on the apex there, still off circuit, but weird stuff going on behind. Safety car, or virtual safety car, called out. And oh, here is a mechanical failure for a Toro Rosso. That is Daniel Kvyat out of the race. 2 mechanical failures in the first 3 races. Very unfortunate there. But that is the end of the day for Kvyat.
Virtual safety car is ending. Maintain your pace until the green flag. VSC ending. Wait for green. Some information on Kvyat. It looks like the problem is terminal. They're retiring the car.
But with all that weirdness,
could be with us for a while. Light rain conditions for the foreseeable future. Dries seem like the best tyre for now.
But with all that weirdness out of the way, it is time for more to start. The rain is coming down, so it is now time to be a little bit worried about the AI, because they can be a little bit faster than I am, certainly in these changing conditions, and hopefully we don't lose too much time running the slick tyres on the wet track or the slightly damp track. But it is not time for the intermediate tyres just yet. But Charles Leclerc, you can see his he was already going faster than I was. We kept up for a little while, but yeah, with the rain coming down, he is taken off into the distance, and it looks like he is a solid chance to win this race.
We're still on the right tyres for the time being.
But Lewis Hamilton,
The track conditions aren't improving. It's your choice as to whether you want to fit the wets next time you come in.
alright, so it is almost time to put the inters on, it seems. You can see the track is getting wetter, the rain is still coming down. Lewis Hamilton is gradually catching up, but not at an alarming rate, so it seems like our pace in these changing conditions is decent enough to hold our position. I'm not too worried about Hamilton catching up at this point, but he is there, and I will be just keeping an eye on the times. But as we move on further and further through this race, it becomes a little bit trickier to keep the car under control, and now Hamilton has arrived finally, but I'm not too worried about him trying to overtake us. Overtaking in these conditions can be difficult, but with a mistake he might be able to get through here. He goes to the left hand side and might get past here. We're on the inside. We absolutely send it right on the limit of what I think we could get away with, and we go side by side through turns 2 and 3, but I think we should be able to get through on the inside here as we lose the rear end there, have to catch the car, and Hamilton I think wisely backed out of that. That could have ended badly for both of us if he held on around the outside and I lost control, but thankfully, yeah, that's no surprise Hamilton backed out there, and we...
Okay, I think it might be just about time to come and change these tyres. This rain could be with us for a while. Light rain conditions for the foreseeable future. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
The dries are still the
Our gap
fastest.
behind is 7.8 seconds.
Make a mistake there at the end of the straight into the hairpin, run deep into that corner for I don't even know how many times that is in this race, but anyway, you can see just a lot of mistakes coming into it now. Lewis Hamilton up into second,
Charles is in the
but
pits.
Leclerc in pits now, Hamilton in pits, so surely this is a sign that it's time to change the tyres, following Hamilton into the pits, taking the Lewis Hamilton line into the pit lane there, but no sand track on the outside in I guess what would be 2020 as there was back in 2007, but anyway, let's go into pits, get a new set of tyres on. These are the intermediate tyres, much better suited to the ever dampening track.
Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
And come out of pits and rejoin in P4, so still in a very decent position, and this rain coming down has really saved us, because it's basically we're coming to the end of the lifespan of our medium tyres,
Charles is in for his stop.
and that has really saved us. Charles pitting though, what's going on there? Charles Leclerc was just in ahead of us, changing onto the intermediate tyres. Now he's coming in again, and that's slicks. That is slick tyres they're putting on his car. Charles Leclerc clearly not happy with the intermediates.
Not sure whether dries or inters are faster. We're right on the crossover.
It's a crossover point, so maybe Leclerc thinking it's not wet enough for the intermediate tyres. I certainly...
Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now.
I think it might be close, but I wouldn't want to risk running on the slick tyres, especially seeing as he's lost an additional 20 seconds making that stop. But Leclerc clearly convinced that the slicks are the right choice at this point, so we'll see how that works out for him. But that is a very strange thing to see there from Charles Leclerc. But we catch right up to Devon Butler, who was involved in the incident involving
A new strategy is available on the MFT.
Valtteri Bottas, and he moves out the way. Butler is actually now a lap down, so it has been a miserable day for Devon Butler so far after such a great qualifying up in the top 10 for Haas. It has come undone in the early stages, but I just don't know what's happening with strategy.
Bottas is behind you. Our gap behind is 21.5 seconds. Charles is in for his stop.
And Leclerc coming into the pits once again, so presumably he is changing tyre compounds again. Very indecisive it seems, Charles Leclerc, and I believe that is going back onto the intermediate tyres on this occasion, and out he goes.
ETA on this rain clearing up is about 10 minutes, so just keep your concentration out there.
But the track is still plenty wet enough, I think, but I would obviously just play along with what everyone else does, I think, for the moment. But other than Leclerc, mostly the AI are running the intermediate tyres at the moment, so it seems like that is the go. But Leclerc, a lot of indecision at this point, it seems, but we continue on anyway, and we've actually got a pretty decent lead due to all the silliness that's gone on in this race. Lance Stroll is having a really good race, started P12, now up in 3rd position.
You're leading the pack. P1 Bottas is behind you. The gap behind us is 17.9 seconds. They're on old inters. That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. 17 laps to go.
So yeah, not terribly far left to go in this race. We've got a decent gap to Bottas, so unless he's over a second a lap faster, we should be just about fine. But the track will start drying out soon. But since we have that massive gap, we can almost let Bottas get the undercut, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
This rain should be stopping anytime soon. We should see a dry line start to form fairly rapidly, so make sure to cool your tyres down the straights. Not sure whether dries or inters are faster. We're right on the crossover.
Because with all the tyre switching that's been going on with a couple of the AI cars, I just can't trust in what Jeff is saying about when it is time to switch to the dry tyres. So on this lap, I believe Bottas will come in to the pits, and we'll see what his pace is like on the slicks, and go from there. But we have a massive gap to Bottas, so that shouldn't be a major issue. Charles Leclerc making his 70th pit stop of the day, and I may have gotten a bit confused as to when Bottas pits.
25.4 seconds.
But he has made his stop just now. Lewis Hamilton is coming out of pits right in front of us, almost a lap down now is Lewis. So that's not been a good day for Red Bull's new driver, but we will see. He's on slick tyres now. We're on very worn intermediates, but I'm getting the feeling that from the traction Lewis got out of that corner, we probably are due a switch to the slicks now. The track is looking...
Okay, it could be a risk with the circuit this greasy, but we think the slick might now be the quicker tyre. If you think you can keep it on the road, let's consider swapping over. Check your MFD for a new strategy option.
It is looking very, very quick on the slick tyres compared to us, is Lewis Hamilton, and you can see just the understeer and how slow we have to take these corners, and Hamilton's gone.
Understood, copy that.
So
There's
it is
15
definitely
laps of
time
fuel remaining.
for a switch of tyres. We'll get the slicks on, and hope Bottas hasn't had too much of an undercut, but I don't think that that should be a real issue. We had a 17-second gap.
No threat of rain for the time being. Conditions looking good. Dries seem like the best tyre for now.
Or right thereabouts. So into the pits we come for our final pit stop, running very deep into the lane. No grip left on these old intermediate tyres as we come into the lane to finally get these tyres off, get the slicks on. No need to worry about the cars going past, they're all a lap down. So we'll get these new tyres on and hope that we come out in the lead. I would be very surprised if Bottas was able to make a comeback, but we go with the medium tyres.
See these tyres through to the end now.
The softs probably could have made it to the end, but it would have been a bit of a stretch, and just not taking any risks. And Bottas indeed went for the mediums as well, so we will have slightly fresher medium tyres than Valtteri Bottas, and that should serve us well to the end.
You're leading the pack. P1 Bottas behind. Our gap behind is 24.5 seconds. They're on fresh mediums.
Meanwhile, Max Verstappen has the fastest lap of the race, and he has also overtaken Lance Stroll for third place. I believe that was in the pit stop phases when he managed to get that done. I didn't quite see what happened to Lance Stroll, but he has lost third position in this race as Robert Kubica retires in front of us there.
Green flag. Green flag. We're racing again.
Was trying to steal a cheeky bit of slipstream, almost tore the front wheels off the thing. So yeah, that could have gone badly. Robert Kubica, though, real shame for him. He was having a really solid race. Remember the battle he had with Sergio Perez holding him off for me for all that time, but unfortunately it has come to an end. Lucas Weber is putting the pressure on, but I don't think he's going to go for an overtake. It seems
We've only got 2 laps of fuel left.
he backed out of that one more or less after he got the move done, so it seems he was just trying to show what could have been. We're going to defend the position anyway, and make a bit of a race of it. We've got time on our hands. We can have a bit of fun and have a bit of a race with our old F2 teammate. Just for the fun of it, we've got a massive gap to Valtteri Bottas. We don't need to worry about him, and Max Verstappen is even further back, so Verstappen might have the best pace on track at the moment, but he has no track position compared to us, and he shouldn't be a threat really. Verstappen also, remember how far back he was at the start of the race. I think
Increase ERS deployment. It's time to use some of this charge.
for memory, he was in 19th on the safety car restart, the car ahead of us, or he was very close to the back of the field anyway. And again, there you can see Lucas Weber had a look down the inside and then backed out of it, not wanting to get in the way, obviously. So I appreciate that, but it shouldn't be an issue for us. Lucas Weber just sitting there.
Final lap of the race.
And now we go to the final lap of the race, and if we keep it on the track, we should be able to bring home our second race win of the season and the second win of our entire career in only the third race of the season. So that is really been a really good start to the season.
We pretty much burned off our excess fuel. We'll be back on target soon. Don't wait too long to turn the engine down.
With all the craziness that's going on in this race, a lot of the main contenders actually down a long way in the field. Remember, we almost put Hamilton a lap down a while ago. He had made one more pit stop than us, but F1 pit stops are pretty short, so he is still a long way behind us. And the likes of Vettel were struggling a lot as well. Remember, he won the Bahrain Grand Prix. Sergio Perez struggling in this one after having some good showings in the first few races. So a lot of the main contenders with some issues. So we could have a very handy championship lead at the end of this race. So we'll see how that plays out. But we will come across the line to win the Chinese Grand Prix.
Absolutely fantastic. It's a brilliant result. Well done.
And an incredible win for Racing Point. A brilliant performance. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
Racing Point's performance today has shown that they can be competitive with the veterans of the sport. They're making their way out to the podium now as we speak, and the reaction from the crowd must be incredibly uplifting for them.
Well, there you have it, the second race win of the season. Valtteri Bottas brings home P2, Max Verstappen up on the podium in third, and he'll be trying to compete this season after a disappointing one last season.
And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. The scientist increases their championship lead. Some amazing talents out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Max Verstappen seemed to just effortlessly weave through the other drivers today without a care in the world. He was definitely my driver of choice.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Racing Point continue to run away with it out in front. There was also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today as they make their way up the standings. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Alright, thanks Crofty. But what a crazy championship this is turning out to be so far. We've got almost double the points of anyone else. It's quite insane. But that has been more due to everyone else's inconsistency. Yes, we've had 2 wins and a second, so we'd be in the lead anyway no matter what. But it hasn't really gone well for anyone else so far this season. They've all had a dud race already, so we'll have to watch out when we get to Baku. It will be our turn soon enough, surely. But we had to fight for this one. But I think, strangely enough, that crash at the start, which wasn't in the highlights reel there, as we... oh, sorry about that, Kimi. But yeah, it all went wrong for us at the start, but I feel like that actually helped us. Strangely enough, the safety car brought us back into contention, and we got that free pit stop when we come in to change the front wing under safety car. And by the time everyone else made their stops, we were put back up into the lead then, and a few cars overtook us, but I'm not actually really sure what happened. Oh, well, Leclerc made all the extra pit stops, and that's really what cost him. And obviously Bottas tried to overtake us, made the mistake, had the spin, and that really sealed the win for us. That cost a lot of the contenders quite a lot of time, and we were ahead of all of that. And yeah, Leclerc with all the pit stops, 7 pit stops Charles Leclerc made. It's absolutely ridiculous. But there is a nice battle with the Red Bull car. But yeah, what a ridiculous race. Absolutely insane. Nice slow-mos.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts.
Okay.
Well, looks like your luck has changed. Things went a lot better than last weekend, didn't they?
Yeah, we didn't quite have the ultimate pace in Bahrain. This track certainly suited our car more.
You're breaking all expectations. What's your secret?
No secret, really. We have just been working really hard on the car. It's getting better and better.
The weather was miserable today, but do you feel this was an advantage for you?
I feel like it may have mixed up the strategies a bit, and it certainly helped us come back into the fight, and it seemed like a few people were a bit indecisive.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Alright, so that brings the Chinese Grand Prix weekend to a close, and we will have a quick look at the R&D in a moment, but we are smashing these rivalries at the moment, fairly close, with Hamilton, Leclerc falling behind a little bit on the left there. But we get a bunch of resource points, not heaps. This is round 3, so it's not a even round. We don't get the bonus of the 600 points yet. That will be next round if we complete the objective. But anyway, let's have a look at the upgrades. We're blocked in on the engine side, still waiting for that major to come in for Azerbaijan. That will really help us up and down the long straights of the Baku circuit. So we're going to work on some durability actually. I've mostly neglected the durability tree, so let's make up for that now. We're going to work on the ICE durability. I noticed that was the major component that was wearing out the most, and it looks like we may run into some issues if we don't work on the durability there. And also the gearbox still could be better, and hopefully if we put an upgrade on that now, we won't run into any issues in Monaco, but it is very possible. So yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, we'll get an upgrade on the gearbox as well, and that should set us up well enough for the rest of the season if we manage things properly. And we've got one more thing to do before we end off the episode, and that is claim our trophy from the Chinese Grand Prix. There it is in all of its glory, our second trophy of the season, of our career in Formula 1, and it looks exactly the same as the first one, but let's not worry about that. It is very cool nonetheless to have the Chinese Grand Prix trophy, and it does look pretty nice nonetheless. And there is our one from the Australian Grand Prix a few episodes ago, along with all of the other ones that we've got from Formula 2 and a couple of weekly events as well. I wish they had more slots. I wish they had some for enough for every track, but we get 6, which is fine, I guess. But it'd be cool if they were just sort of blacked out, and it was a sort of progression thing. You could see which ones you still had left, and they were sort of just there as a sort of encouragement, I guess, to try to get, you know, all the different trophies. But anyway, that may come in a future game, we'll see. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.